Hello and welcome back to NJ Wedding Pro Podcast. My name is Tim at Wedding Photo NJ, and today I have with me the fabulous Natali from Stella Fatale. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Did I say it right?
You did.
Okay, I was like,
But you didn't dare my last name.
no, not at all. But yeah, please introduce yourself and tell everybody all the reasons why you're so awesome.
So I'm Natali Garuccio, and my company is Stella Fatale, a bridal hair company. And we are based out of Toms River, Forked River, all over Ocean County, but we rarely work in one particular spot. We work all over New Jersey, New York. We travel to other states as well.
Yeah, awesome. And so you've been doing this for a little while. We wanted to dive a little bit into like your background, how you got started, and all that stuff. So, how long has it been that you have been a hairstylist and for weddings specifically?
So I've been a hairstylist for 16 years now, specifically weddings, about 14.
Mm-hmm.
So the business particularly isn't that old, but that's how long I've been since I first fell in love with weddings.
Yeah, and the transition, like when you got started, what did that look like for you, like your story?
So it was very slow at first. I didn't think outside the box when I started in cosmetology school, and I was working in the salon, and my boss at the time didn't love weddings. He actually hated doing updos, and I had to beg him to do my own, but it worked out well. So I started in weddings when my boss at the time didn't love doing weddings. He hated it. And when brides would come in or bridal parties, the rest of us would start doing weddings, doing updos. And I, even from cosmetology school, loved doing updos. And the weddings in 2010, 11, 12, they were still going to salons. And it was starting to be where brides would need it a little bit on location, especially around the Jersey Shore. It was starting to happen in the little boutique hotels. And one at a time, he was sending me out to go do these weddings if I wanted to take them. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the change of scenery. I loved the styling, the wedding morning energy, all of it. And I stayed in the salon for several years more thinking that's just what you do and not really thinking about weddings as a business. You know, photographers were always a wedding business, but you didn't think of the hairstylists. And by 2015, I was doing many weddings, and that was almost as much business as the salon. And that's when I had my first kid. So each child I had, I kept cutting a day in the salon and focusing more on the weddings, especially as I saw the need for the communication and the contact and the workload on the back end was just as much as another business. It's not like the salon. You show up and you work that day, you go home, or show up on wedding day and go home. So as that progressed, that after my third kid was born, I already had a full-fledged business and was taking up all of my time that I stopped working in the salon altogether.
That's awesome. And I feel like that is one of those things working with you that you do really well is like the type A organization communication part, like that, like where does that come from?
So some may say my birth signs. I'm not as well versed in knowing the difference. I'm actually on the cusp of Leo Virgo. So if anyone knows that, they could figure that out for me. Yeah. But I also have a background in teaching. I was a middle school English teacher before I started doing hair for a very short period of time. I've always loved school, I guess because of that structure. I loved learning and I loved organization and carry that through teaching where you need it. And even in my brain always had this background creative side, but with that more structured element to it.
Yeah.
So this fittingly developed.
Yeah, like gave you the best of both. Yeah. And I love that, like how you mentioned being able to go to like different locations, and it's like your office is always like, just a different scenery. Like that was something when I was first starting out and trying to find that career, that I felt like was important to me to like, I just didn't imagine myself being in the same place all the time And I love that weddings kind of gives you that like just variety of like, it's always something different. It's always exciting. And it's always like a really good occasion. Like you could have, brides or people come in to get their hair done, for any reason. But on a wedding day, it's like, it's for such a, a big occasion.
Right. It's that extra pressure was kind of exciting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but everyday styles did not excite me. I loved cutting. I loved the whole project, being in control of the whole project when it was color and cut. When I started out, I couldn't imagine having to pick one or the other. And now, fast forward, I absolutely could. I
Mm-hmm.
loved cutting and I love now the styling. And that would be, I would say, what drives the whole passion for weddings is the type of styles you're doing for a wedding. And the other part of it is you still get that really connectedness. I missed my students from teaching. I missed my every month, every 3-week clients, my guys that would come in weekly for haircuts, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that connection. So weddings, you have such a personal element to it that it just infuses the best parts of everything.
Yeah, it really is. And so I know, like, just feel like your practices and like the way that you go about everything is like so professional. Even to the point where the first time that I worked with you, and this is like, there's very few vendors that actually do any of this. But before the wedding day, you reach out to like a lot of the other vendors and professionals that are going to be there, just to kind of like introduce yourself and like, hey, if you need anything, like that. I feel like that is one of the things that maybe sets you apart. Is like, is there anything else that you feel like is just kind of just part of this is how you do things because it makes sense to you, that makes you a little bit different from just like any other, hairstylist for a wedding day.
Especially post COVID when many people entered the wedding industry. I'm still one of the older, more experienced ones. So having the quantity and quality of experience, I think, is something to speak about
Mm-hmm.
nowadays more than ever because it is difficult for couples to discern that. So knowing that and looking at bridal hair and bridal hair styling, the event of weddings as a whole picture, not just showing up on wedding day and giving that experience to brides. So it makes for better results and just a better experience. There's a reason why you're not just going into the salon and leaving.
Yeah.
And taking that approach to the journey with them and guiding them is it's a more elevated experience, but it just gives a better result.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like, just speaking as like a photographer, I think most couples just kind of assume that mainly your job is to take the pictures, but so much of it is outside of it. It's like focusing on the experience that they have, because to me, like that's what you remember most, if anything, is how the day felt. And so to kind of like not pay as much attention to that as a professional, I feel like you'd be missing a lot, to just kind of focus on the thing that you're hired to do and not everything that goes around it. But yeah, I want to paint a little bit of a picture as far as what it's like to work with you. And so we'll start here. When should brides be kind of looking for their hairstylist for the wedding day? When is that typically like in the timeline?
It's not too far-fetched to say 18 months to 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
That is the sweet spot. Not to say that we can't book sooner. It does happen, but it crams and rushes everything and it feels overwhelming to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, to us on the back end as well, but we make it work. But for people that don't know what they're going into in any element of wedding planning, 18 to 12 months is the sweet spot
Mm-hmm.
for several reasons. One, making sure your day is available. That's right off the bat, the most priority. The other is so that you can take the steps to have the best day and the best results. And a lot of what we do starts that far in advance, even if it's as simple as how you prep your hair, having healthy hair. The same way with makeup. We don't do makeup, but how you prep your skin and starting that from many months. You don't just do it the day before and exfoliate. So making sure your hair is prepared or at least on the right track. And then putting us in communication with the necessary vendors so we can plan ahead of time makes a lot of difference. That's a big priority for us so that we can do the best job we can that day and work as a team with the wedding planner, with the photographer and videographer. So typically, would you say that's around the same time when they should book photo?
Yeah, I would say like right around a year to a year and a half is typically where I find is like the sweet spot. Cause like by a year, I feel like you're already like sending out save the dates, and there's so much that's already happened by that like 12-month mark. So yeah, really like to get the full experience. And as you mentioned, anybody that waits a little bit longer outside of just the idea that, your date or your professional that, you're looking to work with might not be available. There's so much that goes into like the preparing for your day that like you couldn't do the same possibly if it was they're only booking you, 5 and 6 months in advance. Like you're trying to kind of get the team together. I know that's one of the parts of making
Right.
sure that you have everything that you need to make sure they have a good experience.
That's the other part of it, especially when it comes to bridal parties. For you, you may need one or two extra photographers, but sometimes we need 3 or 4 extra hairstylists. And knowing that not only am I available, but is the team? Did we book the team? So knowing not that they have to know their head count that early, but having an idea and booking the ones that you definitely are having and making sure that's secure. And then this way we're taking care of arrangements on our back end, including, many of us are moms and parents, and we have to make arrangements. So knowing that, blocking out the full day, some hairstylists, not myself and not a majority of our team, we are primarily wedding focused, but there are hairstylists out there that also work in the salon and they have to block their events out, which this goes also with the high level that all of us in the wedding industry provide is blocking ourselves from family and business events for your day. So making sure we can do that. The other element to it is the knowledge that we come with earlier on is more beneficial. And one of the issues I see is brides, especially, booking the bridal suites in the venue, but then having large bridal parties that don't fit or timelines that won't fit in that bridal suite for getting ready. So speaking with us, your photographer and your beauty team, and putting us together to plan with you from early on will either save you time or save you money or just save your vision and making your wedding morning happen the way you want it to happen.
Yeah, because there is so much that, how would you know? For most people, this is the first time and only time that they'll get married, and there's so much that that you could know. There's so much like to learn and to have a professional that has been doing it as long as we have to be like, oh, here's like a little bit of guidance in terms of like this might not be something that you thought of or that you considered. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. That to me is like part of what it is that we do. And so the earlier on that we can, connect with them and start working with them, it's like we're kind of with them through the whole process, which is like really helpful. So where do brides typically like tend to find you in the first place? Where's like
Mostly Instagram. That is the number one spot right now is Instagram that they still find us. They can find us on TikTok, but I'm not as active on there. So, and I do get many inquiries on Google. However, our brides are very interested in beauty and fashion, whether it's something they do every day and that's why it's important, or because this is for a special event and that's why it's important to them just for that day. That's why those brides are usually on Instagram versus finding us on Google. So many of the more successful, meaning they want to work with us, are on Instagram.
And it's like so much easier because, I mean, people use Instagram, Pinterest, like these social media apps for inspiration a lot of times. So, you know, they're trying to kind of envision what the day looks like. And so it's so helpful to kind of go on, you know, somebody's page and see like, oh, there's all these different styles, and like pick out kind of ones that maybe they feel like they gravitate towards. And especially too, it's helpful if like you've already done something that they're imagining this is how they would look for the wedding day. And then so the first step is going to be like to reach out to you. So like, what does that look like if you just kind of pick up from there?
So right off the bat, once they see our Instagram or find us from Google, however they do, is directly going to our website. So we don't use Instagram as a booking tool. It's more just connection, a little bit of portfolio, definitely information giving, and that's a great place to start for knowledge. Our website is where you would inquire, and you get a general overview of the experience to work with us and the investment, the packages, what we offer on the website. But from many years ago, from very early on, I wanted to make this a very personal experience. So even pre-COVID, I was doing Zoom calls before they even booked.
Yeah.
So we would have a coffee date virtually, and I would learn about their day, their vision, making sure we're the right fit for them and they're the right fit for us, and then customizing their package. Fast forward, brides are very, very busy now more than ever. Life is very busy more than ever for all of us. So they also want as much information before they speak to you. So in order to give as much but still offer that personal element, I offer those calls, but I will provide you information up front. So you inquire on our website, we check our information, the date, availability, if we're the right fit, where you are in your booking process. If you are a week out, then we may not even be available, or it might be too stressful to try to pull all that together. And from there, we will send you our packages, just a basic proposal, and of what's the best fit looking at your details. Now, so much of the wedding industry, your wedding day is very unique. No two weddings, I'm sure you can agree.
Yeah.
Like, no two weddings are the same, and no two bridal hair visions are the same with the day. So I like to make sure we still get to jump on a call and review everything beforehand, you know, especially if a bride is looking to have a first look with pictures outside in a either super hot, rainy, or windy day or element. Then if you booked you selected the package that doesn't include touch-ups, you're not going to have the best experience, no matter what hairstylist you use. So making sure I'm providing you that one-on-one attention right from the beginning, that offer is still there, that opportunity is still there and built into our process.
Yeah, I agree. Because first, it is so important for me as well, like to have a virtual meeting before you even kind of like, just to kind of get a feel for what it is that they need. And, you know, how else can you really know, you know, how to like help them, how to map out their day and all those things without really diving into like what their vision is and what they imagine. So that really is kind of like the first step for me as well. I imagine for most people. And I think for like the day of, like you said, there's so many, you had to even mention like, even for the bride herself, like you could do her hair 2 different times the same way, but it's going to come out a little bit different. And so, like you said, every wedding day is completely unique. So, to really like connect with them early on is like definitely an important thing. And then where's like the next step that you usually kind of take them. So they're like, okay, we definitely want to work with you. You're available for our date. And then now kind of starts some of the hair trials, right? Is that like the
Not
next
yet.
step? Okay.
Nope, that's jumping ahead.
Okay.
Actually.
All right.
So it has to be said that this experience is not for everyone. It definitely has to be for the bride that cares, the bride that really enjoys this process of connecting with someone or having guidance, and the beauty process. Because even with the hairstylists that show up on wedding day, there needs to be some planning in the back end, because you're putting a lot of thought into your vision. So right from when you book, you are given a welcome guide and onboarding sequence so that you have information, tips to start planning, and we get set up on our back end with you. And you have information to start planning if you're adding your bridal party, and we start there. Then if it is 12 to 18 months out, we don't need to do anything just yet. We are not having your trial yet. Most brides at that point did not pick their wedding dress. And that comes first.
Okay.
So
See, this is actually like good information for me, because I don't think I would have associated like you have to have one step before the other. You're just like, oh, you know what you want your hair to look like. But that is a really good point, because there's some hairstyles that I feel like fit certain dress styles, and to know what the dress looks like is kind of like an important part of that.
not just knowing that it fits the dress, and that the hairstyle and dress fit together, but that the dress isn't going to ruin the hair, or vice versa. I had a bride that the whole dress was beaded and she wants her hair down, and there's no way she can maintain that without keeping us there for touch-ups. So because it was, as you move, your hair is going to be on those beads and it's going to snag. So knowing that, because sometimes when you see something together, you realize that's not what I imagined. You know, it's like even just picking a dress from a rack, you know, and then you go and try it on and you're like, oh, isn't what I thought I was going to like, you know. So making sure you have that part first, and everything else could be changed around it.
Okay.
So the logistics can be started before 6 months, but definitely not a hair trial or trying to even figure out your vision.
Okay. Hair trial isn't until like, when would you say like that's a little bit closer to?
At around the 5 and 4 month mark is when we start to really reconnect and focus on your vision. Again, before I even touch your hair, we are kind of planning it out and mapping it out, making sure you have the time that day, you have the dress selected. So we're building it off of that. Everything's cohesive. If you know you definitely want a hair piece or a veil, we start including that. If you're not sure if you do, then the hair really becomes the focus with the dress, and that's great. So we build your vision, and that again can either be virtually, or I gave the option nowadays to brides to just fill out a form, send me their images and their ideas and the basic logistics to add for their day as well. So then I really start getting the finalized plan for that. And then from there, once their vision is kind of put together and I know we have somewhere to go with that, then I analyze it, review it, make sure it fits. Do they need extensions for this? Then we can prepare for that. If they absolutely don't want extensions, then we might have to have a conversation of what you can achieve and make sure your vision is possible. And then from there, around the 3 month mark, 3 to 2 months is the sweet spot for your actual hair preview, your trial.
That's awesome. And this is one of those things that I think before we started working together a little bit closer, that I was always like, oh, what a great idea to do like your hair trial or your makeup trial on the same day as like your engagement session. And you're like, there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. So like there's a lot of stuff that I'm learning even just from you, and I've been doing this for a long time. So what would be some of the reasons as to why? And some of them are like kind of obvious, and you're like, oh.
So first, right off the bat, if your engagement session is done prior to 6 months, which is usually when they happen, right? Really, because then they're using them for the save the dates. So your hair is further away from what it will be like, its natural state, as when it's closer to the wedding. 2 months, you're really not making any changes. Your hair is as long as it could possibly be, really. That extra 1/4 of an inch is not going to make a tremendous difference. Whereas if you're still over 6 months out, your hair has a lot of growing to do. You might need to work on the health of your hair. Many things could be different with it. So you're not going to have the same result. Even from the 2 month mark doing that trial to wedding day, there's still going to be some differences. It's not, your hair will never lay the same way twice. So to do it further away gives a false expectation. It's just not realistic. And the other reason is your chances are that you're not going to wear the same hairstyle for your engagement photos or your bridal shower. That's another one we get it for. The same way as your wedding day. And to do both in one day takes away from the purpose of the trial. The preview is to focus on your wedding hair look.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to cram many more things into that session, you're not going to get the best of either one.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like all of that, like I said, it makes so much more sense, when you're like, oh yeah, you explain it that way. And there's one other thing that you had mentioned that I feel like I want to talk to you more about, which is like hanging out for the day of the wedding to do touch-ups and things like that. Because I feel like it's so rare that I see hair and makeup or anyone past a certain point of the morning or getting ready, and usually they're like, that's it. But I have seen you like actually there for a decent amount of the day to make sure like during portraits like everything looks good, which is I think such a value that maybe not a lot of couples or brides would think about, but definitely really something to like consider.
Absolutely. I can't recommend that enough. There are very few, but there are instances when I will tell a bride she does not need touch-ups. It's fine. If this is either not important, not super important to you, you just want to know you have someone that you can trust and give you a great style for the day and you're set with that. There are some hairstyles or scenarios where I will say, you don't need touch-ups. That's fine. If you want to add it later on, we can do that, but it's not super important. Then there's other brides that they either selected a hairstyle or the logistics of their day are super long or drawn out and they are going to be outside. There's too many influences that could ruin their hair, or the benefit of just giving the photographer an extra set of hands. And I have that eye for detail, making sure their dress is laid properly. I'm another eye looking at those. In my photo, I loved my wedding photos, but there is a gift bag, like a snowman gift bag in one of my photos that I love back at my house. So, to have an extra set of eyes so that you have less photoshopping to do.
Less editing.
But even as in terms of hair, making sure that no matter how solid the hairstyle is, when, a bridesmaid could go to hug you and her bracelet could snag your hair and pull it out. Putting your veil in or out, making sure it doesn't get snagged and no one's using bobby pins for it and it's done properly. And having that I like to say it's like insurance.
Yeah. All right. I don't even know where to go because the first thing too, the bobby pins in the veil, what's the deal with that? Like, why would you not put bobby pins?
So when you put the bobby pin in, if someone that doesn't know what they're doing is kind of just throwing it in there.
Yeah.
They can obviously damage the veil. They can mess up the balance of the hairstyle, which you might not see at the moment, but when you go to take it out and then they realize they pushed it in too much and it shifted the hair underneath. But the worst part of it is when you take it out, it could snag the hair and pull the hair more and pull something out.
Yeah.
And completely mess up the shape.
Yeah. And I feel like that's one of those, like, most people would just go, oh, if it doesn't feel tight enough, just throw in a bunch of bobby pins and, like, you'll be fine. But if you're doing it the right way, and typically that's something that you would help out with.
Absolutely.
Like, so, yeah, to have you there to just be, like, doing a lot of this stuff. Because, like you mentioned, for your wedding day, there's so many people that they want to give you hugs. They want to congratulate you. And the chances are, like, there's some of those moments where you might need somebody to just kind of like keep an eye on making sure everything still looks good. Because like you're getting pictures taken throughout the entire day. And there's so much that as like, photographers, videographers that we're paying attention to. And it's a little less sometimes on something like the hair because it's just like there's so many moving parts for a wedding day.
Right. An extra set of eyes can't hurt. It's just better. And we are human. Photographers are human, hairstylists are human. We can only catch so much. So, and especially when you have the influences of the wind or, if the brides are keeping their hair pieces down in the front and they're outside and the photographer wants to get a certain angle that's this way and they need to have their hair moved. All of those, you have an extra set of knowing what to do if we need to pivot and change something.
Yeah. No, it really is like it goes back to kind of what we said before. Like there's so much that because this is a unique experience for really a lot of people, this is the first time there's so much that you can't know. So to kind of like connect as early as possible and stay connected with somebody who is like just very knowledgeable about all the things that go into a wedding day is like a really beneficial thing for sure. So they have the hair trial, right? And now is the point where what happens kind of between that point and leading up to the wedding.
So from right after the preview, your hair does not even have to be set in stone at that point. The same way you don't have to know your hairstyle to book us, you just have to know that we're capable and versatile, is the same way when you leave your preview. If you love it, great. If you hate something, now that you see it on yourself or it just wasn't what you thought, that's okay too. So I obviously 100% check in the following day. We are not done communicating. I'm here with them through the whole rest of the time, which is also why I have a strategic plan of when we do each step so that those 2 months before your wedding, you have so much more of my focus and the whole team's focus, whether it's the back end communication or needing to get on another call. And if a bride, they rarely do, sometimes it's just tweaks and we just have to talk it through and we'll make those changes on wedding day. If you absolutely need to have another preview, we have time to make that work because I'm not overwhelming our calendar. I'm making sure we're available for you. But communication just makes everything much more simple so that we can do that. So that's right after the preview. Ordering extensions, prepping extensions. I do that for them as well if they need that. And then I double check back in with the photographer. If there's a wedding planner, I don't usually need to check in with the photographer. I prefer to chat with the photographer so that we're directly doing the work. So it's making sure, especially if I'm staying for touch-ups, that we're getting some kind of rapport and we can support each other.
Yeah, we're like the first like crew there is like your hairstylist, your beauty team, and then your photo video team. We're like the first ones to start pretty much for the day.
Absolutely. Even the wedding planner is usually not there definitely not as early as beauty. So making sure I'm checking in with the back end. We're doing a lot of behind the scenes with the timeline, making sure we have enough staffing and scheduling. I'm finalizing your style deck. This is brand new. Only the last few brides have gotten this, and I am obsessed with it.
Go into it a little bit.
Yes. So it is like the welcome guide, but this one is personalized to you. It's your blueprint for your specific wedding day. Everything from your vision to how that is actually executed, with the bonus of our last few brides having their preview photographed by you.
Yeah.
So they get some really, I always document everything. We take many photos and videos to make sure the hair is how I did the hair, what approach I took to the end result. But then seeing it in a pro photo, which hopefully that always works out. That's just such a nice touch to be able to see how does this photograph, even for makeup. My last few brides have been great that they did schedule their hair and makeup previews on the same day. So seeing how your makeup photographs, whether it's the iPhone or the pro photo. So that's included in your style guide, your crew, your bride tribe, who's having services done, and you can download it and put it to your tablet, your phone, and mark it up as you need. Check off hair, check off makeup. It has the hair prep guides in it for yourself and your bridal party, and you can screenshot, send that to them, and you know how to prep your hair, and then also how to check back in, making sure that I have all of the details, location, timing, accurate, and that's in there for you to approve, and we are good to go until wedding day.
Yeah. And it's you showed me some of them, and it's really like a wedding day style, vision board. It's everything. It's you're all,
Blueprint.
all in one. Yeah, it really is. And so, I know for a lot of couples out there that are I think the thing that overwhelms them is the things that they don't know that they should know. And so to kind of just give them, here's kind of everything that you would need in one little blueprint is a huge value. And it just helps them to like feel more confident on the day of. And I feel like that's like really awesome that that's something that you just include.
Resources. I'm
Yeah.
all about resources because it's always helped me along the way. I feel even starting a business or when I went into teaching, whatever it is, having more resources cannot hurt. And having from the experts, from people with experience, so that you can be prepared. Your day can be created properly. In that style guide is also the day of setup. What do I physically need to do the job for you? Some people don't realize they need a chair. We don't carry, hairstylists don't carry our own chairs. A table and outlets and a light. The simple basic things.
Yeah.
So we have that list in there as well because you're so overwhelmed with what Instagram, social media, Pinterest, all of the different wedding publications, your friends, family, everyone putting their 2 cents into telling you many other pieces of it that you don't really know what you need. And you might hear too many ideas, too few ideas, the wrong information. So having accurate guides for you, it just makes the day more prepared for everyone.
Yeah.
More enjoyable.
Yeah. There's so many moving parts, and you're getting, your advice from a lot of different places, but to know for hair specifically, this is everything that we need to know. It's all in one document. That's really nice that it's one less thing that they have to worry about. So we'll go back to the hair trial. So what are some of the things that like brides should know getting ready for hair trial? And then I also wanted to ask, like, because you do a lot of different styles. So if they're bringing in, their own inspiration, things that they've seen online, you kind of cater to a lot of different styles, but you specialize a little bit more in like updos, if I have that right. Okay, that's your thing.
That is my thing. I number one I like to say is my versatility. That I am well versed in a variety of styles, everything from back in the day boho, that was my thing when I thought that was my thing, to much more modern styles, whether it's down or up and everything in between. But my preference is updos. I love a glam updo. I love any kind of updo. I have lived for the resurgence of the Pam Anderson messy updo, and it's finally back. So I'm excited for that and making it modern, but still timeless and not pigeonholing any particular look into that specific look. No one's head shape is exactly the same, their hair, all their features. So I really love customizing a style to that person. So rather than saying I only do one style, it's more the versatility and customization of the looks.
Yeah, but if you need updo, Natalie's your girl. And yeah,
That's my jam.
So what's like just some of the, because there's a few things that brides need to know, just leading into that hair trial, because that's kind of like an important thing that you focus on.
Yes. So for starters, loud and clear, clean hair, 100% clean hair, wedding day, event day, preview. No one wants to touch dirty hair, and it's not needed anymore. We have other ways of using products and tools to get the grip and the shape that we need. We don't need dirty, oily hair. It doesn't even lay right. So that's number one. Number two is more aesthetic for yourself, is wearing white, or if most of all our brides are wearing white. I know some other trends that go around, but wearing the color and, if you can, silhouette that you're wearing on wedding day. Doing it, again, this is why we have it timed close to your wedding, so your skin tone. If you're a summer bride, doing it close to that so that you're tan, versus doing your trial in December and then your makeup and everything just doesn't match. So wearing white so that everything reflects the same vision as it will on wedding day. Having your makeup done, at least somewhat, if you can't schedule your makeup trial on the same day, having something done, because otherwise, if you have your hair done as a bride, a bridal style, and you're wearing sweats and you don't have makeup on and it otherwise looks like you're going food shopping.
With
You're
like
going,
really fancy hair.
yes, it's going to look like too much right off the bat. No matter how simple, it's probably going to look like too much, even though once you're dressed on wedding day, makeup's done, dress is on, jewelry's on, the entire scenery, it will be fitting. So having that, all as many elements as you can to replicate wedding day
Yeah.
is the best vision to bring that cohesiveness.
Yeah. Try to make them feel like a bride even before,
Yes.
like well before wedding day.
Yes.
Is definitely so. Yeah, I know that's one of those things that it's like how do they know unless you have like
Yes.
that insight. So that's really helpful to have.
And the other important one to making sure you're getting the realistic look is having your hair colored the way you want it on wedding day. Because if your hair is a totally different color or there's dimension in your hair, outgrown highlights, and you plan on covering them, a solid hairstyle and a dimensional hairstyle is going to look very different. So making sure that's done. If your hair color is grown out, your roots are showing, you want to make sure that's covered and fresh. Otherwise, it will make you not like your hair, no matter what, even if it's exactly the same way as when you do like it. If your hair color is not correct or fresh, then it will alter the view.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, is there some things that you learned from your wedding day, like going through it, that you kind of carry with you and you're like, oh, now I kind of know these are some things to like really look for? Because I feel it gives it a whole different perspective when you go through the planning process yourself, and then you get to see like, oh, this is like that other side.
So I was getting into weddings around the same time that Joey and I were engaged and we were getting married, planning our wedding. Ironically enough, probably for the better for all my vendors and my own sanity, I went in kind of blind. I wasn't in the wedding industry long enough to know as much as I know now. And I was really laid back. We were really there. I was obsessed with my dress and picking a dress that I would be obsessed about. I had to have an updo. I had to have my boss at the time do it. That mattered more to me than exactly what this hair looked like. I wanted it up. I wanted him to do it. And I wanted a bomb dress and an insane party. Photos and DJ, that mattered. There's things I know and I've learned from the wedding a little, but not nearly as much as just being in it for 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
So
it's
better off that we got married first, because otherwise I'd be way more high maintenance now.
It's definitely like, it definitely helps the perspective for sure. And there's not anything that you would like change about your wedding. Like the whole thing is perfect, but it's just like
I would have
things that
changed
you
the color of my centerpieces.
like
So
small
I have
things.
small things,
But
nothing that
otherwise-
makes or breaks, things that were in trend. I will say that, just from being married as long as I have now, and it's been that long since my wedding, is I have a little bit of that perspective from doing something modern or trendy versus go with something timeless.
Yeah.
It could be something that you love, know. So I do have a little bit of that insight, but most of it is really just from my experience in the industry.
Yeah. Talk about the trends, because I know you love them so much. Some of them I'm sure are good, but there are other things that I feel like,
I'm not a trend person. I am a beat to your own drum.
Yeah.
Which is kind of difficult with social media. That's the downside of it. You see so much of everything now that it's a lot to follow. You're not sure of your own style anymore because you see so much. So you have to know when to turn off. Like I said about the Pam Anderson, messy updos, doing that. So the fact that that came back and that is a trend right now, I just always loved that, not because it's trendy. So really shutting everything off rather than following a trend and sitting with whatever, whether it's the centerpieces or the hair or what tux you want all the guys in, what color, any of it, sitting with it disconnected and making sure it's what fits for you and your vision. I'm big on make a vision board for yourself for both couples involved.
Yeah.
and doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of trends.
And that's
I
okay.
won't,
That's
I can't
You know
say.
what? I would prefer a couple before they follow a trend. I would prefer they follow something that is like it feels true to them, like it feels true to the their personality and whatever that might be. Like I just had a recent wedding. Shout out Amelia and Ryan. And their style is like it is their own thing, and it was just I feel like when you look back on the day, like that's some of the things that you're gonna remember and appreciate more than you're like, oh, I kind of followed this thing that was like really popular at the time. And so as long as it feels like true to yourself, but like you said, there's so much inspiration out there. It's almost like too much inspiration. And sometimes the inspiration doesn't necessarily match up with the expectation because they're like, oh, I seen it, so this will look good on me, and that might not be necessarily true.
Right, absolutely. Or if you're someone that absolutely cannot wear hair extensions, you don't like the feel of anything on your hair, then that style might not be for you. Or if you absolutely want to have it up, but you don't have enough hair, what are your options? Knowing what is capable. And that's where it just comes back to talking with your vendors about the pieces of any element that you like. Even I'm sure even with photography, what if there's a particular photo that you want to make sure you get, but that photographer's a different style, just talking and finding the best fit.
Yeah, inspiration wise, like I have like a little hot take on this, but it really is like you have no idea what went into taking that photo, and nowadays especially styled shoots are pretty popular. So comparing that to what you would get on an actual wedding day, it's like you don't necessarily have the time to just make this absolutely perfect shot set up,
or you're setting up flowers and decor for just this small area for those particular photos, but wedding day you have to have decor and 20 centerpieces of that,
and the environment that plays into it, like where you're having everything, the lighting, all of these things like factor into what went into this inspirational photo that they're seeing or video that they're seeing online. I think it's really good to use as an inspiration. That's kind of the word that I stick to, because I wouldn't even if I could redo something, I wouldn't want to copy the way that somebody else does it. I'd prefer to just kind of get a gauge of, oh, this is what you like about this, and then kind of use that to create something that is unique to the couple, is unique to them, is more important.
Absolutely. And that right now, a trend that does exist is that half up, half down, part up, part down. And it's not for everyone, and it's not for every dress. And the way you do it definitely has to be customized to each person. So that's the other thing, is taking a trend and then just customizing it. That might be the answer, the solution, but not just picking a trend just because it's what's in right now.
Yeah.
And does it really fit the overall, does it fit everything else? Does it fit your normal, that's not terribly glam. So if you have a super glam dress and you want that wow moment, then you have to make sure, I like to tell brides or ask brides to do an activity where, on their own, just pick 3 words to describe either their vision or what they want to feel or their wedding day, and keep referring back to those 3 words. If they say romantic, does that dress or that hairstyle feel romantic? Or does it feel super glam? What do you want? And it could be a combination, but just have something grounding.
Yeah, that kind of makes sure you come back to that original vision, and then everything all ties in together. Because when you are, using those inspirational words, now you're, even like your decor and everything kind of feels like it all fits together with the dress and the attire and the hairstyle and all that stuff, which is really cool. And when couples like get it right and when they nail it, it's like,
obvious.
It's so awesome to see in the photos and looking back on it. So yeah, that's definitely for sure a good point. I have some questions because obviously we value. I love like just giving things that any couple can use as like a takeaway, and they've learned something from just hanging out and watching. And so I'm just going to go through some stuff that I feel like would be helpful for our couples to know.
Awesome.
So what's one thing every bride should know before the hair and makeup trial? We kind of touched on this a little bit. Anything else that you would add to this?
I would not really. That kind of covered everything. Maybe just saying that you could, you don't have to have your hair extensions that day, and we can always add them. No, no,
Okay.
knowing that it's a trial. We are not making it perfect.
Yeah. And you are not necessarily just trying like one style. Like there's like maybe a couple different variations that you can.
I try to get their vision narrowed down more before. That's why we have that vision session or vision questionnaire.
Yeah.
Because if you go into it with too many ideas and trying to do too much in one sitting, it's confusing.
Or
It's
they're
overwhelming.
conflicting and-
There's right, or it doesn't get fully executed. Any one of those pieces of it, you know.
Okay.
So you're seeing part of several different ones rather than a completed, excellent version of one or two. It's also part of why we don't do it exactly the way we will do on wedding day. So we use it to give you the overall look of how it will look, but not be exact. So that if it's not super secure or we don't let the curls cool fully so that we just have time to move on to twisting something differently or giving a semi-alternate version, we have that time. We're not wasting time redoing, starting from scratch and completely taking out so that it's flexible.
Yeah.
That
And
day.
it's doing a good job too of like setting up kind of like the expectation of like, this is kind of where the inspiration that they gave, this is kind of what you put together. And there's like little things that you can tweak if
Exactly.
they have changes that they want to make, but really good place to just kind of start. So
Exactly.
good. All right. So next question is, so what is the biggest wedding morning mistake that you see?
Bride's not realizing it's a long day, not starting early enough, not trusting the recommendations of their vendors, whether it's timing, staffing, location.
Yeah. Do you find that there's like a standard kind of range of time that it typically takes for hair and makeup to like completely get finished? Or is it like it's so much dependent on how many different bridesmaids or people are involved?
Before I answer that, I will say the other misconception is space. We do need space. We don't come with just one iron and one can of hairspray. So hair does need space, not just those little stands that they have in like the salon style. A big, large folding table is perfectly great. And space as far as the more bridal party you have and the more hair and makeup team members you'll need, the more space you'll need, the more outlets you'll need, more of that. So
Yeah.
before I forget that thought.
No, that
And then back to what you were saying, the amount of time. They could underestimate the amount of time. Usually by wedding day, they've already gone through the preview with us. We've spoken, so they're familiar with it. Especially our brides, they love this. They love glam. So they do this often, or they have done it, or they know about it, that it takes the professional wedding day type quality of hair and makeup takes 2 to 2.5 hours each. Some makeup can be an hour and a half. I wouldn't say less than that.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it: skincare, hair prep, those other steps that really set us apart and make us different and a better quality end result. So not skipping on those. The other element to timing is making sure we have enough time regardless what shows up. So a lot of times nerves kick in and brides have to keep taking breaks to get water, use the bathroom, or someone, if we don't have hair backed up early enough in the morning, then there's more and more interruptions. And your head is going all over the place, and we're chasing your head while you're saying hi to your florist and looking at your flowers, or your photographer walks in, or another cousin or bridesmaid walks in and they want to see you and hug you. And of course, we want to let you have that natural excitement of the day, but we also want to deliver the best results. So making sure we have a solid 2 to 2.5 hours each, because we also can't work on we can't work on the bride at the same time. Whether it's height differences, makeup artists have their high chairs, and hairstylists, we need a full view all around. So we need you lower, and I am short, so 4'11". So we have to compensate for that, and you want to give each vendor, each artist, their time with you. You want to really care about that investment, and so letting the artist have that to give to you.
Yeah, I think
without interfering with each other.
Yeah, I think that is just one of those things that a lot of couples might not even just consider is, the amount of time that you allocate to whatever it is. Like, there's things that just come up like naturally with a wedding day. Like I know as a photographer, I know sometimes when I get there, they might just be final touches of hair and makeup and they're still getting worked on. And I do my best to try to not interrupt. So it's like, I'll start with details. I'm going to do the dress anyway. But even just
when
that
you
initial...
need the details, if they're not lying out for you, then you need to go, hey, where's your shoes? Where's your jewelry? And, I'll get that. And where's Megan? So Megan can go, the maid of honor, where's she, and you're looking for things and not meaning to interrupt, but it just might have to happen.
Yeah. And it's a lot of that really comes down to, I try to prepare them for situations like that. And because I know they're already getting interrupted enough. So I'll usually say, just like put all your stuff in a little box in a corner and like I can get started with that. I don't have to interrupt. But yeah, that is one of those things to really just consider, having a little cushion built in so that when those things do inevitably come up and it's like, it's a wedding day, so you can't predict everything. It doesn't feel like you're running behind or anything feels rushed. That is definitely like an important aspect of making sure the day feels like, like it's going the way it should.
Absolutely. And that's part of why not all of our experiences allow you to have me stay the whole day. But I do make it so that we don't take another wedding on the same day, so that if it does get behind, you are still the priority. And if I need to hang back for an extra hour and wait for a photographer, I can. If something does go wrong, I can. It doesn't usually happen, but at least it's an option.
Yeah.
The other element that surprises or is whether it's a hot take or a confusing bit of information that there's misinformation out there is what goes first, hair or makeup. So I will say makeup goes first.
Okay.
As a general rule.
I feel like maybe in my years I might have
affect photography.
I might have known this, but yeah, these are things that I don't always like consider like, oh, there is an order to some of this stuff.
There is simply, and it's very simple. It's kind of what we assume is common sense, because if a bride is not having any hair down in front of her face, then it doesn't matter. It will matter if my bride is paying for us to stay for touch-ups and I happen to only be doing the bride, then you're paying for me to sit and wait for makeup to be done. But that's when usually I add in another hair service. So I'll do your maid of honor or your mom or a bridesmaid, that's usually included so that you have that flexibility. But if we're not staying for touch-ups and the hair is not going, if the hair is going to be in your face, makeup has to go first, because otherwise we don't want to finish your hair and then someone have to move it out of the way.
Clip it back.
Right. And there are ways to do it gently and delicately, but why would you touch it?
Yeah.
You just invested all of this money, time, effort, everything.
To get it perfect.
Right. Why would you touch it?
Totally agree.
So,
now they know.
And we're staying for touch-ups. I schedule the timeline so that makeup has time for touch-ups after too.
Got it. So. Yeah, because that is one of those things that I usually will have them when they are done, like just hop back in the chair so we can get the pictures and, now you're all done.
Right.
So yeah, to have the makeup team, they're still there so they can do all that stuff. And everything's all done at that point. And how early do you finish before like photos get started? Because this is one of those things where I usually will say like my rule of thumb is I get there an hour before hair and makeup is done. But you prefer to like pretty much have them be done now.
I do. I would rather me stay for when photo arrives than schedule it so that we're still working when you get there for many reasons. One, I don't want to be watched. If I know that the photographer's there waiting for us, then there's already a lot of pressure. I'm okay with the pressure. But being watched, waiting for something to be done, that's a whole different level. That's uncomfortable.
I try so hard, and I'm just like,
It
just
doesn't,
checking.
even if you're,
you don't have to rush or anything.
it's and maybe that to my success, it's my perfectionism, my people pleasing. No matter how nice you say it and intend it, I'm still going to feel pressure and then, you want to make sure that there's just space.
Yeah. And that's okay.
I have no problem staying. I'd rather stay and to make sure that you get the shots. You're there. If the bride needs some time before we finish, that I mostly finish and then I'll go back for touch-ups or the veil or whatever the case is. But more importantly than that is because I'm definitely good under pressure, so we can handle that. But it makes your day flow nicer if it's more enjoyable for you, the bride, the groom, whoever, if hair and makeup is done 1 hour before photography arrives. Because if you're sitting in the chair for makeup, you're sitting in the chair for hair, and then you barely got time to enjoy your morning, you don't know what the rest of the group was doing the whole time, you didn't get to eat, or you're eating like in between bites of, you're taking bites in between hairspray bursts, and you're just not enjoying your day as much. You have to brush your teeth. You need to use the bathroom. You need to reapply lipstick. You need a minute to enjoy it and get yourself together before photo walks in, because otherwise you're just getting rushed off to the next thing. And before you know it, you blink and the day is gone.
I know. It goes by so quick. And that is one of those things I always try to make sure my couples are like present. But those are those things that help you to kind of stay present and enjoying the day, is like when things don't feel rushed and you don't feel like you're just going from one thing to the next. But yeah, and I'll say this, I would much prefer if I arrive and hair and makeup, everybody's completely done, then I show up, and this has happened sometimes where it's like they haven't even gotten started, and it's like, and that's okay, but it definitely affects the way that the morning goes. And if the thing with, hair and makeup is like, if that runs behind, that kind of is like the beginning of the day. So then it tends to like push a lot of things back, which, I've been doing this long enough to kind of know, where we can kind of squeeze things in to make sure we're still on track. But again, it just kind of adds to the hecticness that is already, present in a wedding day.
It almost helps prevent that hecticness.
It really does. Yeah. So
especially in the case, and this would be the third reason of making sure beauty is done an hour before, is in case something does go wrong, we have that buffer. You have your buffer, then we have our buffer of that hour. If a bridesmaid shows up with wet hair, or a bridesmaid forgot and needed to steam your dress for you, and now their hair and makeup are ruined, now there's time to fix. I don't suggest doing those things. Still do what you need to avoid any mistakes or backtracking. But in case something goes wrong, we have time. Yeah. And it still won't throw the day off. Whereas, we may be able to squeeze things in, but it will feel that way, and it will throw the day off.
Okay. And I actually, it's so funny that we're talking about this, because I think that was one of the last questions that I had was, what helps the day to feel calm and not chaotic. And it's really a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now, which is just kind of like being very intentional about, where you make time for, and just allowing space for things to take maybe a little bit longer than you expected, and that's okay. There's things like that I feel like even, getting into the dress. This is one of those things that I feel like, some people might allocate like, oh, it'll only take like 5 minutes to write. But then, you're standing outside the door for like, 20 minutes and you're
Those
like, there's
buttons.
still,
Those
oh my
buttons,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's certain things that are just so much more of a process than maybe you would expect. But that's why you have like a team of professionals that are really like just dedicated to thinking about all those things that you can't possibly keep track of on your own.
Right. And there is so much. It's not, weddings are not for everyone, whether it's vendor side or bride and groom side. It's not for everyone because there is so much. So we understand why, elopements or micro weddings or making everything smaller on a more simplified scale, absolutely okay. And that's the beauty of weddings, is that you can do it any which way you want.
Yeah.
But when you work with vendors that you have researched and looked into the results that you want, and you really need to make sure you trust them, listen to the suggestions, the guides they're giving you, because we are here just to give you that end result and enjoy it with you, help you enjoy it along the way. And that's our goal. So I know for us, we get a lot of pushback of, we don't want to get up that early. I know, but you want to do that first look, which means you have to be ready earlier so that you can enjoy the day and all of those pieces. So there's ways to change your day and your vision, but if that is your vision, trust us, and we're going to make that happen for you, and you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Much more if
that's
you
the
trust
thing
us and rely on us.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
That's the thing that they'll definitely appreciate. And I actually, to just kind of touch on that, because I'm sure you get a ton of like raving reviews. Like, what are some of the things that you feel like brides give you feedback on that you're, maybe it's just like, just the highest praise, and you're like, "Oh, it's so nice to hear, that you're helping out in these ways that aren't just the obvious, like my hair looked amazing."
While we do get that, obviously, you hit such a great question, because I care so much and I want the hair to look good. I want you to feel great. But the other feedback that I get is what makes the difference and what makes me feel so much better about everything that I do. And it's one, I do get, that it felt so natural, felt easy to talk to, felt like a friend, walked away with a new friend, there's that connection, personal touch of it. But then the resources and the guide, my bride that was just here in the studio with us the other day, Anna, that was her feedback the next day. She was like, you made this so easy, this whole process. Yeah. So easy, and, we get reliable, we get knowledgeable a lot, just so many things that they didn't know. And I never thought of that. Oh, wow, I didn't think of it like that. You're right. Thank you. And we get a lot of it throughout the process when they're planning, and the little tidbits I share, but especially after wedding day, when they go through it.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're right. And thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It really is like that experience that we talked about is like, that means just as much as like the thing that you were hired to do, just making sure, you do a good job on that. But also when they look back, they're just like, I can't imagine not having Natali there, for the day is awesome.
Yes.
So you only take on so many weddings a year. So for anybody that is trying to get themselves booked on your calendar, where can they find you? Where's all the contact info and all that fun stuff?
So everything is on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We are on Google. I'm in all of the places. But everything ultimately leads directly back to our Instagram, our website. So Instagram has a lot of resources for you, and my DMs are always open, quick chats. Love that. Love helping, even if you're not booking with us, but you just want wedding info, hairstyle info, ideas. I'm always happy to help make a wedding experience or even a special event, like any wedding guest, enjoyable and more knowledgeable. But our website. So reaching out on our website is the best way, and in advance.
Perfect. Definitely check out Natali. And thank you so much for taking the time I know this was like very anticipated. We've been trying to put this together for a little while. So I'm so glad we finally had a chance to just sit down and chat. And this was an awesome one.
Thank you, Tim.